Question 1. How can Mila classify a classroom moment where students start feeling nervous after a certain chime is repeatedly paired with a pop quiz? Option A. Operant conditioning. Option B. Classical conditioning. Option C. Constructivism. Option D. Metacognition. The correct answer is option B. Classical conditioning. This describes classical conditioning because a neutral stimulus becomes linked with an emotional response after repeated pairings. Operant conditioning is not the best choice because it focuses on consequences after behavior rather than associations before a response. Constructivism is different because it explains active meaning making, not a reflexive conditioned response. Metacognition does not fit because it concerns thinking about one's own thinking, not learned emotional associations. Question 2. Suppose Mila observes that a teacher adds praise after a student participates and participation increases. Which concept is shown? Option A. Extinction. Option B. Punishment. Option C. Negative reinforcement. Option D. Positive reinforcement. The correct answer is option D. Positive reinforcement. This describes positive reinforcement because a desirable consequence is added after a behavior, making that behavior more likely. Extinction is not the best choice because it weakens behavior by withholding reinforcement. Punishment is different because it aims to reduce behavior rather than increase it. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it removes an unpleasant condition rather than adding a reward. Question 3. While reviewing, Mila sees students complete homework early to avoid a weekly reminder call home. Which idea matches the situation? Option A. Negative reinforcement. Option B. Positive reinforcement. Option C. Response cost. Option D. Classical conditioning. The correct answer is option A. Negative reinforcement. This describes negative reinforcement because a behavior increases because it helps the learner avoid or remove something unpleasant. Positive reinforcement is not the best choice because it adds a pleasant consequence rather than removing an unpleasant one. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege after misbehavior. Classical conditioning does not fit because it involves stimulus association rather than consequences shaping behavior. Question 4. One interesting clue says a student receives an extra cleanup task after throwing paper and the behavior decreases. Which educational psychology term fits for Mila? Option A. Negative reinforcement. Option B. Shaping. Option C. Positive reinforcement. Option D. Positive punishment. The correct answer is option D. Positive punishment. This describes positive punishment because an unpleasant consequence is added to reduce an unwanted behavior. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Shaping is different because it builds behavior through small reinforced steps. Positive reinforcement does not fit because it adds something desirable to increase behavior. Question 5. From this example, where a teacher rewards each closer attempt as a shy student gradually speaks louder in class, which answer should Mila select? Option A. Extinction. Option B. Shaping. Option C. Reciprocal teaching. Option D. Fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option B. Shaping. This describes shaping because successive approximations are reinforced until the desired behavior develops. Extinction is not the best choice because it reduces behavior by removing reinforcement. Reciprocal teaching is different because it uses student-led reading strategies rather than behavior building. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it reinforces after a set number of responses, not gradual progress. Question 6. Students in a mini-lecture discuss why a teacher stops laughing at off-task jokes and the jokes slowly fade away. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A. Spaced practice. Option B. Punishment. Option C. Extinction. Option D. Modeling. The correct answer is option C. Extinction. This describes extinction because a previously reinforced behavior decreases when reinforcement is no longer provided. Spaced practice is not the best choice because it improves memory through distributed study sessions. Punishment is different because it adds or removes a consequence to reduce behavior more directly. Modeling does not fit because it involves learning by watching others. Question 7. Teachers in a peer study circle wonder why a student keeps answering review questions because bonus points appear after unpredictable numbers of correct responses. Which principle applies? Option A. Fixed ratio schedule. Option B. Variable ratio schedule. Option C. Fixed interval schedule. Option D. Variable interval schedule. The correct answer is option B. Variable ratio schedule. This describes variable ratio schedule because reinforcement occurs after an unpredictable number of responses, which often produces steady responding. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it rewards after a predictable number of responses. Fixed interval schedule is different because it rewards the first response after a set amount of time. Variable interval schedule does not fit because it rewards after changing time intervals rather than response counts. Question 8. Can Mila treat students' work hardest right before a quiz that happens every Friday as evidence of which concept? Option A, token economy. Option B, fixed interval schedule. Option C, fixed ratio schedule. Option D, variable ratio schedule. The correct answer is option B, fixed interval schedule. This describes fixed interval schedule because reinforcement is available after a predictable amount of time has passed. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards exchanged for privileges. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it depends on a set number of responses. Variable ratio schedule does not fit because it depends on unpredictable response counts. Question 9. If Mila must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a child copies a classmate's polite hand-raising after seeing the classmate praised? Option A, insight learning. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, the observational learning. Option D, trial and error learning. The correct answer is option C, observational learning. This describes observational learning because the learner changes behavior after watching another person and the consequences that follow. Insight learning is not the best choice because it involves a sudden solution, not imitation. Classical conditioning is different because it links stimuli rather than modeling behavior. Trial and error learning does not fit because it depends on personal attempts and feedback rather than watching a model. Question 10. Rather than guessing, Mila should connect a student with strong belief in personal ability chooses harder practice problems with which concept? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, self-efficacy. Option C, self-concept. Option D, external locus of control. The correct answer is option B, self-efficacy. This describes self-efficacy because the learner's belief in their capability affects effort, persistence, and challenge choice. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it refers to interest or enjoyment, not belief in ability. Self-concept is different because it is a broader view of oneself, not task-specific competence. External locus of control does not fit because it attributes outcomes to outside forces rather than personal capability. Question 11. Curiosity rises when Mila reads that a student's competence, learning behavior, and teacher response all influence one another. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, reciprocal determinism. Option C, maturation. Option D, norm reference testing. The correct answer is option B, reciprocal determinism. This describes reciprocal determinism because personal factors, behavior, and environment interact in a two-way pattern. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it focuses on learned stimulus associations. Maturation is different because it emphasizes biological growth rather than social interaction cycles. Norm reference testing does not fit because it compares scores to other test takers. Question 12. A CLEP-style scenario says a teacher gives sentence starters at first and slowly removes them as students improve. Which answer best captures it for Mila? Option A, summative assessment. Option B, standardization. Option C, extinction. Option D, scaffolding. The correct answer is option D, scaffolding. This describes scaffolding because temporary support is provided and then withdrawn as learners become more independent. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it evaluates learning after instruction is complete. Standardization is different because it keeps testing procedures the same for everyone. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 13. Inside a tutoring table, Mila studies why a student can solve a problem with hints but not yet alone. Which concept fits? Option A, formal operational stage. Option B, reliability. Option C, zone of proximal development. Option D, mastery learning. The correct answer is option C, zone of proximal development. This describes zone of proximal development because the task sits between independent ability and what the learner can do with support. Formal operational stage is not the best choice because it describes abstract reasoning, not support level. Reliability is different because it concerns score consistency, not learning support. Mastery learning does not fit because it requires reaching a performance standard before moving on. Question 14. Looking at the clue that a child calls a zebra a horse because it fits an existing animal category, which idea should Mila remember? Option A, assimilation. Option B, conservation. Option C, encoding. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option A, assimilation. This describes assimilation because new information is interpreted using an existing mental schema. Conservation is not the best choice because it is understanding that quantity can stay the same despite appearance changes. Encoding is different because it is getting information into memory. Accommodation does not fit because it changes the schema to fit new information. Question 15. Mila sees that a child changes the animal category after learning zebras are not horses during a quick quiz review. Which concept best explains it? Option A, class inclusion. Option B, rehearsal. Option C, accommodation. Option D, assimilation. The correct answer is option C, accommodation. This describes accommodation because an existing schema is revised when new information does not fit. Class inclusion is not the best choice because it involves understanding category relationships. Rehearsal is different because it is repeating information to maintain it in memory. Assimilation does not fit because it would force new information into an old schema. Question 16. When Mila notices that a child solves conservation tasks but struggles with purely hypothetical logic in a teacher training scenario, which idea is being tested? Option A, sensor-motor thinking. Option B, concrete operational thinking. Option C, formal operational thinking. Option D, pre-operational thinking. The correct answer is option B, concrete operational thinking. This describes concrete operational thinking because children can reason logically about concrete objects but not fully abstract possibilities. Sensor-motor thinking is not the best choice because it centers on infant sensory and motor exploration. Formal operational thinking is different because it includes abstract and hypothetical reasoning. Pre-operational thinking does not fit because it often lacks conservation and logical reversibility. Question 17. During a final review session, Mila studies a case where a team reasons through a hypothetical justice problem without needing physical examples. Which term fits best? Option A, pre-operational thinking. Option B, concrete operational thinking. Option C, formal operational thinking. Option D, object permanence. The correct answer is option C, formal operational thinking. This describes formal operational thinking because abstract and hypothetical reasoning are key features of the stage. Pre-operational thinking is not the best choice because it is marked by symbolic thought but limited logic. Concrete operational thinking is different because it works best with tangible examples. Object permanence does not fit because it is an infant understanding that objects still exist when unseen. Question 18. In a learning lab, Mila asks why an infant searches for a hidden toy instead of acting as if it disappeared. Which answer names the idea? Option A, egocentrism. Option B, conservation. Option C, object permanence. Option D, centration. The correct answer is option C, object permanence. This describes object permanence because the child understands that objects continue to exist even when out of sight. Egocentrism is not the best choice because it involves difficulty taking another person's viewpoint. Conservation is different because it involves understanding quantity despite appearance changes. Centration does not fit because it means focusing on one feature while ignoring others. Question 19. After reading that an elementary student gains pride from mastering reading and learning skills, how should Mila label the concept? Option A, identity versus role confusion. Option B, industry versus inferiority. Option C, trust versus mistrust. Option D, generativity versus stagnation. The correct answer is option B, industry versus inferiority. This describes industry versus inferiority because school-age children build competence through successful work and feedback. Identity versus role confusion is not the best choice because it is mainly an adolescent search for personal identity. Trust versus mistrust is different because it centers on infant caregiver reliability. Generativity versus stagnation does not fit because it focuses on adult contribution to others. Question 20. For a short exam review, Mila connects a teenager explores values, careers and beliefs to answer who they are with which principle. Option A, autonomy versus shame. Option B, identity versus role confusion. Option C, industry versus inferiority. Option D, intimacy versus isolation. The correct answer is option B, identity versus role confusion. This describes identity versus role confusion because adolescents work toward a stable sense of self and direction. Autonomy versus shame is not the best choice because it describes toddlers building independence. Industry versus inferiority is different because it focuses on school-age competence. Intimacy versus isolation does not fit because it usually involves young adult relationships. Question 21. Could a case where a student says cheating is wrong because rules and community expectations matter be an example of which concept for Mila? Option A, conventional morality. Option B, moral realism. Option C, pre-conventional morality. Option D, post-conventional morality. The correct answer is option A, conventional morality. This describes conventional morality because moral reasoning is based on social approval, rules, and maintaining order. Moral realism is not the best choice because it treats rules as fixed and unchangeable. Pre-conventional morality is different because it focuses on rewards and punishments. Post-conventional morality does not fit because it uses broad ethical principles beyond rules. Question 22. Why would Mila link a child avoids lying mainly to escape punishment or earn a reward to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, post-conventional morality. Option B, pre-conventional morality. Option C, conventional morality. Option D, identity achievement. The correct answer is option B, pre-conventional morality. This describes pre-conventional morality because moral decisions are driven by personal consequences such as punishment or reward. Post-conventional morality is not the best choice because it reasons from abstract principles and rights. Conventional morality is different because it emphasizes rules and approval from society. Identity achievement does not fit because it describes commitment after exploration, not moral reasoning. Question 23. A practice item tells Mila that a student argues that a rule should be challenged when it violates basic human rights. Which concept is most likely? Option A, learned helplessness. Option B, post-conventional morality. Option C, conventional morality. Option D, pre-conventional morality. The correct answer is option B, post-conventional morality. This describes post-conventional morality because moral reasoning is guided by universal principles rather than simple rule following. Learned helplessness is not the best choice because it concerns giving up after repeated failure. Conventional morality is different because it generally supports rules and social order. Pre-conventional morality does not fit because it focuses on personal gain or punishment. Question 24. Before answering, Mila identifies that a teacher plans choices that include music, movement, language, and spatial design. Which term should be chosen? Option A, multiple intelligences. Option B, G-factor. Option C, norm reference testing. Option D, working memory. The correct answer is option A, multiple intelligences. This describes multiple intelligences because the approach treats ability as varied across different domains of strength. G-factor is not the best choice because it emphasizes a general intelligence factor. Norm reference testing is different because it compares learners to a group. Working memory does not fit because it is a limited mental workspace. Question 25. Which choice helps Mila explain why an assignment asks students to solve problems, create products, and apply ideas in daily life in an online prep session? Option A, triarchic intelligence. Option B, multiple intelligences. Option C, criterion reference testing. Option D, fluid intelligence. The correct answer is option A, triarchic intelligence. This describes triarchic intelligence because Sternberg's model highlights analytical, creative, and practical intelligence. Multiple intelligences is not the best choice because it lists broader domains such as musical or bodily kinesthetic abilities. Criterion referenced testing is different because it measures performance against standards. Fluid intelligence does not fit because it refers to novel problem-solving ability. Question 26. How can Mila classify a classroom moment where a student studies child development because the topic feels genuinely fascinating? Option A, performance goal. Option B, extrinsic motivation. Option C, negative reinforcement. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option D, intrinsic motivation. This describes intrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by interest, curiosity, or enjoyment of the activity itself. Performance goal is not the best choice because it focuses on looking competent compared with others. Extrinsic motivation is different because it depends on outside rewards or pressures. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Question 27. Suppose Mila observes that a student completes extra practice mainly to earn a gift card. Which concept is shown? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, extrinsic motivation. Option C, self-regulation. Option D, mastery goal. The correct answer is option B, extrinsic motivation. This describes extrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by an outside reward rather than the activity itself. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it comes from interest or enjoyment. Self-regulation is different because it involves planning and monitoring one's learning. Mastery goal does not fit because it emphasizes learning and improvement. Question 28. While reviewing, Mila sees a student chooses difficult questions to improve understanding even if mistakes happen. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, performance goal. Option B, mastery goal. Option C, avoidance goal. Option D, fixed mindset. The correct answer is option B, mastery goal. This describes mastery goal because the focus is on growth, learning, and skill development. Performance goal is not the best choice because it focuses on proving ability or outperforming others. Avoidance goal is different because it focuses on avoiding failure or embarrassment. Fixed mindset does not fit because it treats ability as unchangeable. Question 29. One interesting clue says a student studies mainly to score higher than classmates and appear smart. Which educational psychology term fits for Mila? Option A, performance goal. Option B, mastery goal. Option C, intrinsic motivation. Option D, metacognition. The correct answer is option A, performance goal. This describes performance goal because the learner is focused on demonstrating ability relative to others. Mastery goal is not the best choice because it centers on improvement and understanding. Intrinsic motivation is different because it centers on enjoyment or curiosity. Metacognition does not fit because it involves awareness and control of thinking. Question 30. From this example, where a student explains a failed test by blaming effort, task difficulty, luck, or ability, which answer should Mila select? Option A, classroom ecology. Option B, constructivism. Option C, information processing theory. Option D, attribution theory. The correct answer is option D, attribution theory. This describes attribution theory because it examines how people explain causes of success and failure. Classroom ecology is not the best choice because it focuses on classroom environment patterns. Constructivism is different because it emphasizes building meaning from experience. Information processing theory does not fit because it explains how information moves through memory systems. Question 31. Students in a teacher training scenario discuss why a student stops trying because repeated failures made success feel impossible. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, self-efficacy. Option B, learned helplessness. Option C, positive transfer. Option D, growth mindset. The correct answer is option B, learned helplessness. This describes learned helplessness because repeated uncontrollable failure can reduce motivation and effort. Self-efficacy is not the best choice because it refers to belief in capability, not resignation. Positive transfer is different because it happens when prior learning helps new learning. Growth mindset does not fit because it supports belief that ability can improve. Question 32. Teachers in a final review session wonder why a student treats mistakes as evidence that a skill can improve with strategy and effort. Which principle applies? Option A, fixed mindset. Option B, external attribution. Option C, entity theory. Option D, growth mindset. The correct answer is option D, growth mindset. This describes growth mindset because ability is viewed as developable through effort, feedback, and better strategies. Fixed mindset is not the best choice because it treats ability as stable and hard to change. External attribution is different because it places causes outside the learner. Entity theory does not fit because it is another way to describe fixed views of ability. Question 33. Can Mila treat a hungry, unsafe student struggles to focus on a challenging lesson as evidence of which concept? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, Kohlberg theory. Option C, Bloom taxonomy. Option D, Maslow hierarchy of needs. The correct answer is option D, Maslow hierarchy of needs. This describes Maslow hierarchy of needs because basic physiological and safety needs can affect readiness for higher level learning. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it explains learned stimulus response associations. Kohlberg theory is different because it describes moral reasoning development. Bloom taxonomy does not fit because it classifies cognitive learning objectives. Question 34. If Mila must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a student loses track while solving a long mental math problem with many steps? Option A, working memory. Option B, sensory memory. Option C, procedural memory. Option D, long-term memory. The correct answer is option A, working memory. This describes working memory because working memory is the limited mental space used to hold and process information temporarily. Sensory memory is not the best choice because it briefly holds raw sensory input, procedural memory is different because it stores skills and habits. Long-term memory does not fit because it stores information over extended periods. Question 35. Rather than guessing, Mila should connect a student recalls a teaching theory studied weeks earlier with which concept? Option A, sensory memory. Option B, working memory. Option C, long-term memory. Option D, selective attention. The correct answer is option C, long-term memory. This describes long-term memory because information retained over time is stored in long-term memory. Sensory memory is not the best choice because it lasts only briefly after stimulation. Working memory is different because it is temporary and limited during active thinking. Selective attention does not fit because it filters what receives mental focus. Question 36. Curiosity rises when Mila reads that a student turns a new vocabulary term into a meaningful example to remember it. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, encoding. Option B, validity. Option C, extinction. Option D, retrieval. The correct answer is option A, encoding. This describes encoding because encoding is the process of getting information into memory in a usable form. Validity is not the best choice because it concerns whether a test measures what it should. Extinction is different because it weakens a learned behavior. Retrieval does not fit because it involves pulling stored information back out. Question 37. A CLEP-style scenario says a student closes the book and answers questions from memory to strengthen recall. Which answer best captures it for Mila? Option A, centration. Option B, massed practice. Option C, retrieval practice. Option D, summative assessment. The correct answer is option C, retrieval practice. This describes retrieval practice because actively recalling information improves later memory more than simply rereading. Centration is not the best choice because it means focusing on one feature of a situation. Massed practice is different because it compresses study into one long session. Summative assessment does not fit because it evaluates learning at the end of instruction. Question 38. Inside a Bright Review class, Mila studies why a student studies the same concepts in short sessions across several days. Which concept fits? Option A, shaping. Option B, spaced practice. Option C, norming. Option D, massed practice. The correct answer is option B, spaced practice. This describes spaced practice because learning is distributed over time, which usually supports stronger retention. Shaping is not the best choice because it reinforces gradual behavior changes. Norming is different because it creates comparison data for a test. Massed practice does not fit because it packs study into one concentrated period. Question 39. Looking at the clue that a student links a new theory to personal learning experiences, which idea should Mila remember? Option A, extinction. Option B, elaboration. Option C, rote rehearsal. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option B, elaboration. This describes elaboration because new information is made more meaningful by connecting it to existing knowledge. Extinction is not the best choice because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Rote rehearsal is different because it repeats information without adding meaning. Reliability does not fit because it refers to consistency of measurement. Question 40. Mila sees that a student groups a long list of theorists into behaviorist, cognitive, and social categories during an online prep session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, overlearning. Option B, chunking. Option C, response cost. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option B, chunking. This describes chunking because information is organized into meaningful units to reduce memory load. Overlearning is not the best choice because it continues practice after initial mastery. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege to reduce behavior. Accommodation does not fit because it changes a schema to fit new information. Question 41. When Mila notices that a student checks which topics are weak and adjusts the study plan in a morning lesson, which idea is being tested? Option A, automaticity. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, extrinsic motivation. Option D, metacognition. The correct answer is option D, metacognition. This describes metacognition because the learner monitors and controls their own thinking and learning strategies. Automaticity is not the best choice because it means a skill requires little conscious effort. Classical conditioning is different because it involves learned associations. Extrinsic motivation does not fit because it depends on external rewards. Question 42. During a practice test workshop, Mila studies a case where knowledge from a statistics lesson helps a student understand test reliability. Which term fits best? Option A, negative punishment. Option B, extinction. Option C, cognitive dissonance. Option D, transfer of learning. The correct answer is option D, transfer of learning. This describes transfer of learning because previous learning influences performance in a new but related situation. Negative punishment is not the best choice because it removes something desirable to reduce behavior. Extinction is different because it reduces behavior when reinforcement stops. Cognitive dissonance does not fit because it involves discomfort from conflicting beliefs. Question 43. In a tutoring table, Mila asks why a teacher gives a big picture concept map before a complex lesson begins. Which answer names the idea? Option A, exit ticket. Option B, random assignment. Option C, token economy. Option D, advance organizer. The correct answer is option D, advance organizer. This describes advance organizer because a preview structure helps learners connect new information to prior knowledge. Exit ticket is not the best choice because it checks understanding at the end of a lesson. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Token economy does not fit because it uses symbolic rewards. Question 44. After reading that a student uses an existing mental framework about learnings to understand a new teaching method, how should Mila label the concept? Option A, rubric. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, reinforcer. Option D, schema. The correct answer is option D, schema. This describes schema because a schema is an organized knowledge structure used to interpret information. Rubric is not the best choice because it is a scoring guide. Percentile rank is different because it shows relative standing in a group. Reinforcer does not fit because it is a consequence that increases behavior. Question 45. For a short exam review, Mila connects too many visuals, terms, and steps overwhelm a student during a first lesson with which principle? Option A, reliability. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, cognitive load. Option D, egocentrism. The correct answer is option C, cognitive load. This describes cognitive load because working memory can become overloaded when too much information must be processed at once. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns consistency of scores. Intrinsic motivation is different because it concerns interest and enjoyment. Egocentrism does not fit because it means difficulty taking another viewpoint. Question 46. Could a case where students build their own understanding through discussion, examples, and problem solving be an example of which concept for Mila? Option A, constructivism. Option B, maturation. Option C, standardization. Option D, behaviorism. The correct answer is option A, constructivism. This describes constructivism because learners actively construct meaning rather than simply receive information. Maturation is not the best choice because it emphasizes biological growth. Standardization is different because it keeps procedures uniform. Behaviorism does not fit because it emphasizes observable behavior and consequences. Question 47. Why would Mila link students investigate a question, gather evidence, and develop an explanation to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, inquiry-based learning. Option B, fixed ratio reinforcement. Option C, direct instruction. Option D, norm-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option A, inquiry-based learning. This describes inquiry-based learning because learning begins with questions and exploration rather than only direct telling. Fixed ratio reinforcement is not the best choice because it rewards after a set number of responses. Direct instruction is different because it uses clear teacher-led explanation and guided practice. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares students to one another. Question 48. A practice item tells Mila that a teacher models a skill, guides practice, checks understanding, and gives feedback. Which concept is most likely? Option A, discovery learning. Option B, direct instruction. Option C, portfolio assessment. Option D, peer tutoring. The correct answer is option B, direct instruction. This describes direct instruction because the method uses explicit teaching steps and structured practice. Discovery learning is not the best choice because it expects students to uncover ideas with less direct guidance. Portfolio assessment is different because it collects work over time. Peer tutoring does not fit because it uses students helping students. Question 49. Before answering, Mila identifies that students work in small groups with shared goals and individual accountability. Which term should be chosen? Option A, cooperative learning. Option B, lecture method. Option C, competitive learning. Option D, independent study. The correct answer is option A, cooperative learning. This describes cooperative learning because learners collaborate while each member remains responsible for contributing. Lecture method is not the best choice because it centers on teacher presentation. Competitive learning is different because it ranks students against one another. Independent study does not fit because it relies on solo learning. Question 50. Which choice helps Mila explain why a teacher adjusts tasks, materials, and support based on student readiness in a student coaching session? Option A. Summative assessment. Option B. Differentiated instruction. Option C. Standardized instruction. Option D. Random sampling. The correct answer is option B. Differentiated instruction. This describes differentiated instruction because instruction is adapted to different needs while keeping meaningful learning goals. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it evaluates after instruction. Standardized instruction is different because it delivers the same approach to all students. Random sampling does not fit because it selects participants for research. Question 51. How can Mila classify a classroom moment where a lesson offers text, audio, visuals, and different ways to show understanding from the start? Option A. Universal design for learning. Option B. Mastery grading. Option C. Accommodation only. Option D. Tracking. The correct answer is option A. Universal design for learning. This describes universal design for learning because UDL plans flexible access and expression options before barriers appear. Mastery grading is not the best choice because it focuses on reaching standards before moving ahead. Accommodation only is different because it changes access for an individual after a need is identified. Tracking does not fit because it separates students into groups by perceived ability. Question 52. Suppose Mila observes that a teacher uses a quick exit question to adjust tomorrow's lesson. Which concept is shown? Option A. Placement test. Option B. Formative assessment. Option C. Summative assessment. Option D. Norm-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option B. Formative assessment. This describes formative assessment because the assessment is used during learning to guide instruction and feedback. Placement test is not the best choice because it sorts students before instruction begins. Summative assessment is different because it judges learning after instruction is complete. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to other learners. Question 53. While reviewing, Mila sees a final exam measures what students learned after the unit ends. Which idea matches the situation? Option A. Formative assessment. Option B. Summative assessment. Option C. Anecdotal record. Option D. Diagnostic assessment. The correct answer is option B. Summative assessment. This describes summative assessment because the assessment evaluates achievement at the end of a learning period. Formative assessment is not the best choice because it guides instruction during learning. Anecdotal record is different because it is a brief observational note. Diagnostic assessment does not fit because it identifies starting strengths and needs. Question 54. One interesting clue says a student's score is judged against a fixed standard of mastery. Which educational psychology term fits for Mila? Option A. Informal observation. Option B. Criterion referenced assessment. Option C. Ipsative assessment. Option D. Norm referenced assessment. The correct answer is option B. Criterion referenced assessment. This describes criterion referenced assessment because performance is compared with defined criteria rather than other students. Informal observation is not the best choice because it is not necessarily tied to a fixed standard. Ipsative assessment is different because it compares a student to their own past performance. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares students to a reference group. Question 55. From this example, where a score report shows how a student performed compared with a national sample, which answer should Mila select? Option A. Criterion referenced assessment. Option B. Norm referenced assessment. Option C. Formative assessment. Option D. Authentic assessment. The correct answer is option B. Norm referenced assessment. This describes norm-referenced assessment because the score is interpreted relative to other test takers. Criterion-referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares performance to a standard. Formative assessment is different because it is used during learning for improvement. Authentic assessment does not fit because it uses real-world tasks. Question 56. Students in a morning lesson discuss why a test gives similar results when the same skill is measured repeatedly. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A. Percentile rank. Option B. Bias. Option C. Reliability. Option D. Validity. The correct answer is option C. Reliability. This describes reliability because reliability means scores are consistent across time, items, or raters. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it reports relative standing. bias is different because it concerns unfair advantage or disadvantage. Validity does not fit because it asks whether the test measures the intended construct. Question 57. Teachers in a practice test workshop wonder why a math test actually measures math reasoning instead of reading speed. Which principle applies? Option A, inter-rater agreement. Option B, reliability. Option C, standard error. Option D, validity. The correct answer is option D, validity. This describes validity because validity concerns whether an assessment measures what it claims to measure. Inter-rater agreement is not the best choice because it is one form of consistency between scorers. Reliability is different because it concerns consistency, not meaning. Standard error does not fit because it estimates score uncertainty. Question 58. Can Mila treat all examines receive the same directions, timing, and scoring rules as evidence of which concept? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, standardized test. Option C, authentic assessment. Option D, informal assessment. The correct answer is option B, standardized test. This describes standardized test because standardization keeps testing conditions uniform so scores can be interpreted fairly. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects multiple pieces of work over time. Authentic assessment is different because it asks students to perform realistic tasks. Informal assessment does not fit because it may be flexible and teacher-made. Question 59. If Mila must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when students design a real learning plan instead of only selecting answers on a test? Option A, standardized assessment. Option B, norm-referenced assessment. Option C, forced choice test. Option D, authentic assessment. The correct answer is option D, authentic assessment. This describes authentic assessment because students demonstrate learning through realistic tasks and products. Standardized assessment is not the best choice because it uses uniform procedures and scoring. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares performance to a group. Forced choice test does not fit because it limits responses to provided options. Question 60. Rather than guessing, Mila should connect students receive a scoring guide describing levels for evidence, clarity, and accuracy with which concept? Option A, norm table. Option B, syllabus. Option C, rubric. Option D, checklist. The correct answer is option C, rubric. This describes rubric because a rubric lists criteria and performance levels for judging work. Norm table is not the best choice because it helps interpret scores against a sample. Syllabus is different because it outlines course policies and topics. Checklist does not fit because it often marks whether elements are present without quality levels. Question 61. Curiosity rises when Mila reads that a teacher moves students from remembering facts to evaluating arguments and creating projects. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, Maslow hierarchy. Option B, Bloom taxonomy. Option C, Erikson stages. Option D, Kohlberg stages. The correct answer is option B, Bloom taxonomy. This describes Bloom taxonomy because the taxonomy organizes cognitive tasks from lower to higher levels of thinking. Maslow hierarchy is not the best choice because it organizes human needs. Erikson stages is different because it describes psychosocial development. Kohlberg stages does not fit because it describes moral reasoning. Question 62. A CLEP-style scenario says a student with a qualifying disability has a legal plan with goals and services. Which answer best captures it for Mila? Option A, lesson plan. Option B, rubric. Option C, individualized education program. Option D, norming report. The correct answer is option C, individualized education program. This describes individualized education program because an IEP documents specialized instruction, supports, goals, and services for eligible students. Lesson plan is not the best choice because it guides a teacher's daily instruction, but is not a special education legal document. Rubric is different because it scores performance. Norming report does not fit because it summarizes comparison data. Question 63. Inside a learning lab, Mila studies why a student with a disability learns with non-disabled peers as much as appropriate. Which concept fits? Option A, tracking. Option B, retention. Option C, standardization. Option D, least restrictive environment. The correct answer is option D, least restrictive environment. This describes least restrictive environment because students should be educated in settings that provide access while avoiding unnecessary separation. Tracking is not the best choice because it groups students by perceived ability. Retention is different because it keeps a student in the same grade. Standardization does not fit because it keeps testing procedures uniform. Question 64. Looking at the clue that a student gets extended time while the learning target stays the same, which idea should Mila remember? Option A, punishment. Option B, modification. Option C, accommodation. Option D, acceleration. The correct answer is option C, accommodation. This describes accommodation because access is adjusted without changing the essential learning expectation. Punishment is not the best choice because it reduces unwanted behavior through consequences. Modification is different because it changes the learning expectation or task level. Acceleration does not fit because it moves a learner ahead faster. Question 65. Mila sees that a student completes a simplified assignment with different learning expectations during a student coaching session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, accommodation. Option B, universal screening. Option C, scaffolding. Option D, modification. The correct answer is option D, modification. This describes modification because the task or standard is changed to fit the learner's instructional level. Accommodation is not the best choice because it changes access while keeping the same standard. Universal screening is different because it checks all learners for risk. Scaffolding does not fit because it gives temporary support toward the same goal. Question 66. When Mila notices that a strong thinker struggles with accurate word decoding and benefits from structured phonics in a mini-lecture, which idea is being tested? Option A, dyscalculia support. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, behavior contract. Option D, dyslexia support. The correct answer is option D, dyslexia support. This describes dyslexia support because dyslexia commonly affects word reading and decoding, so explicit structured literacy support can help. Dyscalculia support is not the best choice because it focuses on math-related difficulties. Percentile rank is different because it reports relative test standing. Behavior contract does not fit because it targets behavior goals. Question 67. During a peer study circle, Mila studies a case where a student focuses better with short tasks, movement breaks, and clear routines. Which term fits best? Option A, criterion testing. Option B, ADHD classroom support. Option C, gifted compacting. Option D, classical conditioning. The correct answer is option B, ADHD classroom support. This describes ADHD classroom support because structured routines and attention supports can reduce distractions and support self-management. Criterion testing is not the best choice because it compares performance to standards. Gifted compacting is different because it removes already mastered work for advanced learners. Classical conditioning does not fit because it links stimuli with responses. Question 68. In a Bright Review class, Mila asks why an advanced student skips mastered work and uses time for deeper enrichment. Which answer names the idea? Option A, remediation. Option B, retention. Option C, extinction. Option D, curriculum compacting. The correct answer is option D, curriculum compacting. This describes curriculum compacting because already mastered content is reduced so the learner can pursue more challenging work. Remediation is not the best choice because it redirects skills that are not yet mastered. Retention is different because it repeats a grade or course. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce a behavior. Question 69. After reading that examples, discussion norms, and materials connect learning to students' cultural backgrounds, how should Mila label the concept? Option A, culturally responsive teaching. Option B, colorblind teaching. Option C, standardized testing. Option D, ability tracking. The correct answer is option A, culturally responsive teaching. This describes culturally responsive teaching because instruction uses students' cultural knowledge and experiences as assets for learning. Colorblind teaching is not the best choice because it ignores cultural differences rather than using them constructively. Standardized testing is different because it keeps procedures uniform. Ability tracking does not fit because it separates students by perceived ability. Question 70. For a short exam review, Mila connects an assessment unfairly disadvantages a group because examples depend on unfamiliar cultural knowledge with which principle? Option A, test bias. Option B, validity evidence. Option C, standard deviation. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option A, test bias. This describes test bias because bias occurs when irrelevant factors give some groups an unfair advantage or disadvantage. Validity evidence is not the best choice because it supports appropriate score interpretation. Standard deviation is different because it describes score spread. Reliability does not fit because it concerns score consistency. Question 71. Could a case where students transition quickly because procedures for materials and movement are practiced daily be an example of which concept for Mila? Option A, accommodation. Option B, random reinforcement. Option C, summative testing. Option D, classroom routines. The correct answer is option D, classroom routines. This describes classroom routines because clear repeated procedures reduce confusion and support orderly learning time. Accommodation is not the best choice because it adjusts access for a learner. Random reinforcement is different because it gives rewards unpredictably. Summative testing does not fit because it evaluates final achievement. Question 72. Why would Mila link students earn points for target behaviors and trade them for privileges to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, mastery learning. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, token economy. Option D, logical consequence. The correct answer is option C, token economy. This describes token economy because tokens serve as conditioned reinforcers that can be exchanged for backup rewards. Mastery learning is not the best choice because it requires meeting standards before moving forward. Classical conditioning is different because it links two stimuli rather than using exchangeable rewards. Logical consequence does not fit because it is connected naturally to misbehavior. Question 73. A practice item tells Mila that a student who misuses lab materials must repair the setup and review safety steps. Which concept is most likely? Option A, logical consequence. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, extinction. Option D, unrelated punishment. The correct answer is option A, logical consequence. This describes logical consequence because the consequence is related to the behavior and helps restore responsible action. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it increases behavior by removing an unpleasant condition. Extinction is different because it withholds reinforcement to reduce behavior. Unrelated punishment does not fit because it does not connect meaningfully to the behavior. Question 74. Before answering, Mila identifies that a teacher spots small off-task behavior early while continuing the lesson smoothly. Which term should be chosen? Option A, scaffolding. Option B, witness. Option C, wait time. Option D, self-efficacy. The correct answer is option B, witness. This describes witness because witness means awareness of classroom events and quick response before problems grow. Scaffolding is not the best choice because it gives temporary learning support. Wait time is different because it is a pause after asking a question. Self-efficacy does not fit because it is belief in capability. Question 75. Which choice helps Mila explain why a teacher pauses several seconds after asking a question before calling on anyone in a quick quiz review? Option A, wait time. Option B, witness. Option C, response cost. Option D, distributed practice. The correct answer is option A, wait time. This describes wait time because wait time gives students more processing time and often improves response quality. Witness is not the best choice because it is awareness of classroom behavior. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege after behavior. Distributed practice does not fit because it spreads study sessions over time. Question 76. How can Mila classify a classroom moment where a prompt asks students to explain several possible reasons instead of choosing one fact? Option A, recall cue. Option B, closed question. Option C, fixed ratio schedule. Option D, open-ended questioning. The correct answer is option D, open-ended questioning. This describes open-ended questioning because open-ended questions invite elaboration, reasoning, and multiple defensible responses. Recall cue is not the best choice because it simply prompts memory of stored information. Closed question is different because it usually has one brief answer. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it reinforces after a set number of responses. Question 77. Suppose Mila observes that a teacher tells a student exactly what worked and what to revise next. Which concept is shown? Option A, random correction. Option B, effective feedback. Option C, general praise. Option D, summative grade only. The correct answer is option B, effective feedback. This describes effective feedback because specific, timely feedback helps learners close the gap between current and desired performance. Random correction is not the best choice because it lacks targeted connection to the learning goal. General praise is different because it may feel positive but gives little guidance. Summative grade only does not fit because it reports performance without next steps. Question 78. While reviewing, Mila sees a student sets a goal, monitors progress, changes strategies, and reflects after studying. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, operant conditioning. Option B, social facilitation. Option C, self-regulated learning. Option D, object permanence. The correct answer is option C, self-regulated learning. This describes self-regulated learning because learners actively plan, monitor, control, and evaluate their learning. Operant conditioning is not the best choice because it emphasizes consequences shaping behavior. Social facilitation is different because it concerns performance changes in the presence of others. Object permanence does not fit because it concerns infant understanding of hidden objects. Question 79. One interesting clue says students take turns summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting during reading. Which educational psychology term fits for Mila? Option A, token economy. Option B, direct instruction. Option C, random assignment. Option D, reciprocal teaching. The correct answer is option D, reciprocal teaching. This describes reciprocal teaching because the strategy uses structured dialogue to improve comprehension. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Direct instruction is different because it is mainly teacher-led explanation and practice. Random assignment does not fit because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Question 80. From this example, where one student guides another through practice will both receive learning benefits, which answer should Mila select? Option A, tracking. Option B, lecture. Option C, portfolio assessment. Option D, peer tutoring. The correct answer is option D, peer tutoring. This describes peer tutoring because students support each other's learning through structured helper-learner roles. Tracking is not the best choice because it separates students into ability groups. Lecture is different because it is teacher presentation to a group. Portfolio assessment does not fit because it collects work samples over time. Question 81. Students in a mini-lecture discuss why a child identifies that cat and cup begin with the same spoken sound. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, syntax. Option B, phonics. Option C, morphology. Option D, phonemic awareness. The correct answer is option D, phonemic awareness. This describes phonemic awareness because the learner is attending to individual sounds in spoken language. Syntax is not the best choice because it concerns sentence structure. Phonics is different because it links sounds to printed letters. Morphology does not fit because it studies meaningful word parts. Question 82. Teachers in a peer study circle wonder why a student improves a skill after watching a confident model demonstrate each step. Which principle applies? Option A, Maslow needs. Option B, Skinner shaping. Option C, Piaget conservation. Option D, Bandura modeling. The correct answer is option D, Bandura modeling. This describes Bandura modeling because Bandura emphasized learning by observing models and the outcomes of their actions. Maslow needs is not the best choice because it explains motivation through layered needs. Skinner shaping is different because it reinforces gradual behavior changes through consequences. Piaget conservation does not fit because it concerns logical understanding of quantity. Question 83. Can Mila treat family, school, peers, community, and culture all shape a child's development as evidence of which concept? Option A, Erikson psychosocial stages. Option B, Bernfenbrenner ecological systems. Option C, Kohlberg moral stages. Option D, information processing. The correct answer is option B, Bernfenbrenner ecological systems. This describes Bernfenbrenner ecological systems because development is influenced by nested environmental systems around the child. Erikson psychosocial stages is not the best choice because it focuses on lifespan social-emotional conflicts. Kohlberg moral stages is different because it focuses on moral reasoning. Information processing does not fit because it compares thinking to mental processing systems. Question 84. If Mila must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a young child uses a caregiver as a safe base and seeks comfort after stress? Option A, avoidant attachment. Option B, secure attachment. Option C, industry versus inferiority. Option D, authoritarian parenting. The correct answer is option B, secure attachment. This describes secure attachment because secure attachment involves trust in caregiver availability and comfort. Avoidant attachment is not the best choice because it shows reduced seeking of comfort. Industry versus inferiority is different because it is a school-age psychosocial conflict. Authoritarian parenting does not fit because it describes strict parenting style. Question 85. Rather than guessing, Mila should connect two infants differ early in activity level, mood, and adaptability with which concept? Option A, temperament. Option B, moral reasoning. Option C, criterion validity. Option D, self-concept. The correct answer is option A, temperament. This describes temperament because temperament refers to biologically influenced patterns of emotional and behavioral response. Moral reasoning is not the best choice because it concerns judgments about right and wrong. Criterion validity is different because it links test scores to an outcome. Self-concept does not fit because it is a person's view of self. Question 86. Curiosity rises when Mila reads that a child says goad because a regular grammar rule is applied too broadly. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, code switching. Option B, telegraphic speech. Option C, language overgeneralization. Option D, babbling. The correct answer is option C, language overgeneralization. This describes language overgeneralization because the child applies a learned language rule to an irregular case. Code switching is not the best choice because it shifts language varieties based on context. Telegraphic speech is different because it uses short two-word phrases. Babbling does not fit because it is early sound play. Question 87. A CLEP-style scenario says students explain whether a character should break a rule to help someone in need. Which answer best captures it for Mila? Option A, behavior checklist. Option B, moral dilemma assessment. Option C, aptitude test. Option D, achievement test. The correct answer is option B, moral dilemma assessment. This describes moral dilemma assessment because moral dilemmas reveal the reasoning behind judgments, not just the choice itself. Behavior checklist is not the best choice because it records observed behaviors. Aptitude test is different because it predicts future learning potential. Achievement test does not fit because it measures learned academic content. Question 88. Inside a tutoring table, Mila studies why a study finds that homework time and test scores rise together without proving cause. Which concept fits? Option A, ethnography. Option B, experimental research. Option C, correlational research. Option D, case study. The correct answer is option C, correlational research. This describes correlational research because correlation shows a relationship between variables but does not establish causation. Ethnography is not the best choice because it studies culture through immersion. Experimental research is different because it manipulates variables to test cause and effect. Case study does not fit because it examines one person or small group deeply. Question 89. Looking at the clue that participants are placed into tutoring or no tutoring groups by chance, which idea should Mila remember? Option A, random assignment. Option B, convenience sampling. Option C, random sampling. Option D, matching. The correct answer is option A, random assignment. This describes random assignment because chance placement helps make groups similar before the treatment begins. Convenience sampling is not the best choice because it uses whoever is easily available. Random sampling is different because it selects participants from a population. Matching does not fit because it pairs participants on key traits. Question 90. Mila sees that a researcher changes the type of feedback students receive during a quick quiz review. Which concept best explains it? Option A, confounding variable. Option B, dependent variable. Option C, control variable. Option D, independent variable. The correct answer is option D, independent variable. This describes independent variable because the independent variable is the factor the researcher manipulates. Confounding variable is not the best choice because it is an unwanted factor that may affect results. Dependent variable is different because it is the measured outcome. Control variable does not fit because it is held constant. Question 91. When Mila notices that a researcher measures quiz scores after using two different teaching methods in a teacher training scenario, which idea is being tested? Option A, dependent variable. Option B, independent variable. Option C, extraneous variable. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option A, dependent variable. This describes dependent variable because the dependent variable is the outcome measured to see whether the treatment had an effect. Independent variable is not the best choice because it is the factor manipulated. Extraneous variable is different because it is an outside influence. Random assignment does not fit because it is a grouping procedure. Question 92. During a final review session, Mila studies a case where one group receives regular instruction while another receives a new memory strategy. Which term fits best? Option A, sample. Option B, control group. Option C, population. Option D, experimental group. The correct answer is option B, control group. This describes control group because the control group provides a comparison for judging the effect of the treatment. Sample is not the best choice because it is the set of participants studied. Population is different because it is the larger group of interest. Experimental group does not fit because it receives the treatment being tested. Question 93. In a learning lab, Mila asks why a teacher adds all quiz scores and divides by the number of students. Which answer names the idea? Option A, median. Option B, range. Option C, mode. Option D, mean. The correct answer is option D, mean. This describes mean because the mean is the arithmetic average of a set of scores. Median is not the best choice because it is the middle score. Range is different because it is the difference between highest and lowest scores. Mode does not fit because it is the most frequent score. Question 94. After reading that a teacher wants to know how spread out the class scores are around the average, how should Mila label the concept? Option A, mean. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, raw score. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option B, standard deviation. This describes standard deviation because standard deviation describes typical distance of scores from the mean. Mean is not the best choice because it gives the average but not spread. Raw score is different because it is the number of points earned. Percentile rank does not fit because it shows relative standing. Question 95. For a short exam review, Mila connects a student's report says the score is higher than the scores of 80% of the norm group with which principal? Option A, percentage correct. Option B, grade equivalent. Option C, percentile rank. Option D, standard deviation. The correct answer is option C, percentile rank. This describes percentile rank because percentile rank tells the percentage of comparison scores at or below a student's score. Percentage correct is not the best choice because it reports items answered correctly. Grade equivalent is different because it estimates grade level performance, often imperfectly. Standard deviation does not fit because it describes score spread. Question 96. Could a case where students improve partly because they know they are being studied be an example of which concept for Mila? Option A, observer bias. Option B, placebo effect. Option C, Hawthorne effect. Option D, testing effect. The correct answer is option C, Hawthorne effect. This describes Hawthorne effect because participants may change behavior simply because they are receiving attention in a study. Observer bias is not the best choice because it occurs when researcher expectations shape recording. Placebo effect is different because it involves improvement from belief in a treatment. Testing effect does not fit because it improves learning through retrieval practice. Question 97. Why would Mila link students improve over a semester because they naturally grew older, not because of the program to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, instrumentation threat. Option B, regression to the mean. Option C, maturation threat. Option D, selection bias. The correct answer is option C, maturation threat. This describes maturation threat because changes due to natural development can threaten conclusions about a treatment's effect. Instrumentation threat is not the best choice because it occurs when measurement changes over time. Regression to the mean is different because it occurs when extreme scores move closer to average later. Selection bias does not fit because it occurs when groups differ before a treatment. Question 98. A practice item tells Mila that a researcher records detailed notes about learning interactions instead of only counting scores. Which concept is most likely? Option A, standardized testing. Option B, random assignment. Option C, meta-analysis. Option D, qualitative observation. The correct answer is option D, qualitative observation. This describes qualitative observation because qualitative methods focus on rich descriptions and meanings in context. Standardized testing is not the best choice because it uses uniform measurement procedures. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Meta-analysis does not fit because it statistically combines many studies. Question 99. Before answering, Mila identifies that a teacher studies the effect of a new discussion routine in the teacher's own learning. Which term should be chosen? Option A, survey research. Option B, longitudinal research. Option C, action research. Option D, laboratory experiment. The correct answer is option C, action research. This describes action research because practitioners investigate their own settings to improve local practice. Survey research is not the best choice because it gathers responses from questionnaires. Longitudinal research is different because it follows participants over time. Laboratory experiment does not fit because it tests variables in a controlled setting. Question 100. Which choice helps Mila explain why families are told the study purpose, risks, and rights before agreeing to participate in an online prep session? Option A, informed consent. Option B, random assignment. Option C, debriefing. Option D, confidentiality. The correct answer is option A, informed consent. This describes informed consent because participants or guardians must understand key information and voluntarily agree. Random assignment is not the best choice because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Debriefing is different because it explains details after participation. Confidentiality does not fit because it protects private data.